Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, It's Electric, Plugging into All-Electric Multi-Unit Housing. My name is Twyla Neely-Strite, and I'm the Education and Operations Associate at Illinois Green Alliance. Today's program was put on by the Illinois Green Alliance Programs Committee, a volunteer group that coordinates education events covering a wide range of topics throughout the year for the green building industry. The team that put on today's event consists of Sophia, Seol, Damon Henriksen, and Dan Mooring. You've all been muted upon entry, so please type any questions you have into the Q&A and we'll get them answered at the end. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent out to you in a follow-up email with some other resources. So for those who are unfamiliar, Illinois Green Alliance is a membership-driven nonprofit organization that advances green buildings and sustainable communities for all. Our 5-year strategic plan pushes the green building industry to meet or get on the path to net zero. We achieve this work through education events such as panels, building tours, and more, by engaging communities and partnering with organizations across Illinois, and by advocating for new policies and legislation. Members can view our recorded webinars in our on-demand webinar library. You can also learn more about membership, see upcoming events, and get involved by visiting our website, illinoisgreenalliance.org. This webinar is approved for AIA for 1 LU HSW credit and can be logged for 1 LEED AP or Green Associate CE hour. Certificates of completion for both AIA members and non-AIA members are available upon request. A minute to look at these. And I also want to take a moment to recognize Illinois Green Alliance's sustaining sponsors who make our work possible. A special thank you to our gold level sponsors, ComEd, Resource Innovations, Sloan, and USGBC. You can make a commitment to advancing green buildings and communities across the state by starting a conversation about sponsor partnership today at illinoisgreenalliance.org/sponsorship. Now on to the main event. We have a great lineup of speakers for today's program. First, we will hear from Sophia Seol, a researcher at Slipstream who works on ComEd's Electric Homes New Construction Program. Sophia helps diversify all-electric residential projects and connect electrification market players. Sophia advocates for residential building electrification and decarbonization. Next, we'll hear from Wayne Beals, a Chicagoland realtor with a mission-based focus on helping his clients live more sustainable lives at home and develop sustainable investment opportunities in the Chicagoland market. He's been in the business for 21 years and is currently the exclusive marketing broker for award-winning sustainable home builder Green Line Homes. Wayne has sold dozens of all-electric sustainable homes to consumers, serves on the Illinois Green Alliance Programs Committee, and on the Chicago Association of Realtors Sustainability Work Group as vice chair. Up next will be Andre Blacknard, owner of Eco Home Builders LLC. Andre is a Chicago-based home builder specializing in sustainable and innovative home building practices that enhance the lives of their clients, minimize environmental impact. As a seasoned professional with 2 decades of experience in building residential dwellings, Andre takes great pride in his work. In 2018, he made the decision to shift his focus towards all-electric and sustainable homes, recognizing the importance of creating environmentally friendly living spaces for the future. With this new direction, he's excited to continue bringing innovative and eco-conscious solutions to the housing market. Our final speaker will be Darshan Desai. Darsh is a first-time real estate developer, having previously owned and managed multifamily rental investments. Prior to investing in real estate, Darsh was a healthcare executive with an almost 2-decade track record of improving business performance through business development, commercial strategy, and execution, and process optimization. Darsh has earned degrees in engineering and business administration, is a part-time instructor for financial analysis and modeling courses, and lives with his young family in Chicago's West Loop neighborhood. And after we hear from our speakers, we'll have an audience Q&A led by Wayne Beals. Now I'm gonna hand things over to Sophia to start us off.
Awesome. Thanks, Twyla. If you go to the next slide, I can talk more about the ComEd Electric Homes program and electric homes trend that we see from this program. So yeah, I want to talk about the all electric homes trend from 2020 to 2023 And this year is actually the 5th year of the program, as it started as a pilot since 2020. So since the pilot, I do see the trend changing. Not only the number of homes increased, but also geographical location of the electric homes spread it out to suburban area. Year 1 in 2020, we began with 11 homes. Year 2 and 3, builders are still hesitant going all electric. So I'm not gonna lie, so many heat pump myth, electric homes myth out there that comes with the cold climate of Chicago, which is not, definitely. And also year 4, 2023, and earlier 5, 2024, I started to see many educated builders knowing the heat pump efficiency and more of how they can make the projects more efficient, have a tighter envelope, how they can pay attention to the little details of the envelope and things like that. So they were asking, who do I need to talk to make an envelope tight and to size the heat pump right? In terms of the project types, definitely more multifamily projects in the program. So you will learn a lot from today from Andre and Darsh experience on building all electric multifamily buildings. So, you know, we've definitely increased the number of multifamily homes coming into the program. If you could go to the next slide, Twyla. So this is how we have achieved so far. Our program is growing and totaling 125 units from 2020 to 2023, showing in green. There are different sizes of green dots there. A lot of projects are south side of Chicago, spread it out throughout the Northern Illinois. That expected to increase in 2024 and totaling up to 240 homes, showing in blue dots, the pipeline projects. Next slide, please. These are just a few of amazing electric homes. The project types we have been accepting small multifamily, 2 to 4 flats, townhomes, auxiliary dwelling units, and small multifamily projects as well. So in terms of small multifamily, that's larger than 4 units, up to 4 stories in Chicago, and outside of Chicago, that's up to 3 stories. We just had the 15-unit project completed last year by Darsh, Mapletree Properties. So he will talk more about that, but we've been already seeing the growth. Again, you know, all electric multifamily projects in 2024, and even 2025, 2026 completing projects as well. Next slide, please. So I know some people might be curious, join this webinar to learn more about the electric homes. I kind of wanted to show and share some project of the month stories that we send out and telling successful stories that the builders and homeowners shared about their own homes and projects. So I wanted to share a few with y'all, starting from the left here. So this home completed April 2023. So the homeowner shared why they went all electric and how they feel so far living there after a year, almost a year. So to summarize the quote, they wanted to, you know, think forward from an energy use perspective for their next 30 plus years home. And a lot of people think that they need to sacrifice for comfort and convenience, but definitely that isn't the case. Their home is actually comfortable year round compared to, you know, gas furnace or traditional AC combination. So that kind of, you know, that ensured by the electric homes benefits, you know, including safety with no combustion and superior quality and comfort of the home. It's not included in here, but they also mentioned that they wanted to have like a resilient, flexible home that could continue to adapt to, you know, the new technology that come up and along the way. Next one, Greenline Homes. So we have, you know, Greenline Homes have a lot of high performance all electric homes. They're all about it. But this one particularly stood out to me that they achieved her score of -9. I personally just didn't know that it could go below 0, but it is very fascinating number that, you know, the score actually indicates the annual savings are about $2,270 compared to the other US, you know, average homes. So this is also zero energy homes. So I wanted to highlight that as well. And if you go to the next slide, Twyla. So 2 more. So Inherent Homes. This is very unique project that this is actually a modular home. So it was produced in a facility in West Garfield Park. This home actually achieved 0.57 air changes per hour. Very, very tight envelope. And This home has $80 electric bill in July 2023. This is what the president of Inherent Home shared with us. So, considering 2 people working full time in the summer of Chicago, that's a pretty good number. Tom Besadilli, Architect Home, we actually created a case study of this home. He renovated his home, that was built in 1919. So he actually achieved net positive home with an 8 kilowatt of solar system, energy cost saving about $1,400. And considering this home was built in 1919, achieving 2.0 air changes per hour is very impressive and very airtight envelope. Next slide, please. So these homes are actually, going above and beyond from our 4, great examples, but they are definitely meeting these minimum program requirements. These 9 checkboxes are shown in this blue colored ones on your infographic on your right. So that really started with like a high quality building envelope. You really have to think about the envelope first, weatherize your home first, and then think about the heat pump space heating sizing and capacity and whatnot. This program also requires heat pump water heater, LED light bulbs, Energy Star certified appliances, low flow faucets, smart thermostats if that's compatible with the HVAC system, and also ensure that you have good indoor air quality and comfort requirements. Orange colored ones, so shown here is solar, EV charger, induction cooktop. Those are not part of the requirement, but we do highly recommend those for better indoor air quality. Next slide, please. We have also obviously accept the small multifamily, so that's larger than 4 units, again, up to 4 stories in Chicago. Outside of Chicago, that's up to 3 stories. Same program requirements. Additional would be just the common area lighting and parking garage lighting if you have parking garage in the building. Next slide. Program incentive is really straightforward. So we provide this incentive per unit depending on the square feet of the project. So you see in the middle of the slide here, 3 tiers of the incentive structure. Depending on the square feet of the unit, we have from 3,000 to 5,000 incentive level. Let's say you have a 10-unit project, 1,000 square feet each, then the total incentive would be $40K. And Home Energy Rater will also receive $200 per unit because they will help us fill out the Rater workbook when the project's completed as well. Next slide. So this slide shows step-by-step how to participate in the program. I'm not going to read everything here, but the top 3 that I want to mention is that if you have a project or want to learn about the project or electric homes in general, just reach out to me early. Even if you don't know where to start, I can help you connect with our past builder participant to learn more about their projects or ask questions if you have any. And also we have a list of builders and homeowner raters who participated in the program in the past, and they would be more than happy to share their experiences and tips on building electric homes. Another reason to reach out to me early is that, we accept the application during the design phase. So whenever the project is constructed or started the construction, we wouldn't be able to accept your project application. So we don't want to miss your application. So definitely reach out to me early. And last but not least, if you have a major renovation project, please talk to a Home Energy Radar early on, so that they can help you with like air tightness strategies to meet the program minimum requirements. If you have like a home that was built in 1800s or 1900s, it's always good to talk to the Home Energy Radar early to learn more about the strategies early on, rather than when you just do the construction and do the blower door test. I have seen a lot of builders didn't meet the 2.0 air changes per hour for the very old homes. I think that's my last slide. I'm happy to answer any questions later during Q&A, but I will hand it off to Wayne now. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sophia. Good morning, everybody. It's an honor to present to this group today about the important subject of electrifying our multi-unit and multi-family housing. As we all know, climate change is affecting our built environment, Chicago's residential buildings are typically 100+ years old and have seen many fuels over the years, from coal to oil to gas. And now we're seeing a trend towards building electrification. 62% of Chicago's carbon emissions come from buildings. So we need to transition from fossil fuels to clean energy fuels in heating, cooling, and the operation of our buildings. Yet for some reason, our typical residential construction still relies on gas for heating. And these buildings, although they'll have to be retrofit to meet Chicago's climate action goals, most recently, the Village of Oak Park has passed ordinances requiring electrification on new buildings. The city of Chicago, with the Clean and Affordable Buildings Ordinance, is considering a similar shift to all electric buildings. But we don't have to wait for code to change. The developers presenting to you today are profitable developers. They see a market advantage in delivering all electric homes to a market that's undersupplied in the Chicagoland area. They're evolving how buildings in Chicago are built, and they're here today to share their personal path. Most notably, I want to point out that we're seeing all electric buildings primarily in low to moderate income markets in the city, proving economic viability. Our presenters today are developing buildings in the United Center area and in Woodlawn, respectively. If we can build an electric building in these communities, I submit that they're economically viable throughout the city. Before we get started, let's talk about some common links around electrification. Next slide, please. This slide shows a cutaway of a typical Chicago building. It's important to always note that prior to pursuing an electrification strategy, it's important to consider conservation in your design. With new construction, we have the opportunity to build a better building envelope. Building envelope investments return very quickly in terms of cost savings and comfort to the resident. Once we get our load reduced, you'll have to purchase less equipment to heat and cool the building. That equipment will use less fuel ongoing over the next decades to keep that building comfortable. The presentation today is primarily on electrification, but I want to make sure that we did point back to conservation. That's an important step in any sustainable builder's practice. Next slide, please. So once we get a building's energy load down and it's reduced as low as practically possible through insulation, thermal breaking, and air sealing, electrification becomes a very easy strategy to pursue. We know that cold climate heat pumps are reliable and effective at heating and cooling buildings in Chicago more efficiently than gas systems. The typical cold climate heat pump operates at 300% or more efficiency compared to a gas furnace operating 80 to 95% efficiency. Delivery of heating and cooling is very flexible. Some of you are used to seeing the wall-mounted unit on the left. There are also units that replace furnaces in the middle photo that feed ducted systems. There are also many cassettes that are capable of running mini ducts into several rooms. Design of your heating and cooling system is just as important as the design of your building envelope, and cold climate heat pump systems have a lot of ways of heating and cooling the building efficiently, effectively, and comfortably. It's always important to note that when building products for a consumer, the product has to be a superior experience to what they already have. Heat pumps are an upgrade as they're more comfortable than gas equipment and they don't overcycle. They're more consistent at providing comfort with heating and cooling. Next slide, please. Heat pump hot water heaters are the most efficient way we know to make domestic hot water. Recently, home centers are starting to carry these units and they're becoming available to consumers when they're looking for an emergency replacement. It's still the simplest way to start a path towards electrification. Replace your gas water heater with an electric heat pump water heater. It'll deliver cost savings for years of service of that unit. Please note the energy guide label on this unit shows it consumes $104 a year in electricity. Remember that number next time you're at the home center, comparing it against tankless gas, tankless electric, or tanked water heaters. You'll find that when it comes to the cost of operating a heat pump hot water heater, it's tremendously efficient. Next slide, please. Of course, the consumer still needs to dry their clothes, and heat pump condensing clothes dryers have come a long way. They now use half the energy of a typical electric dryer or gas dryer and dry your clothes in about the same amount of time. These units save energy and benefit the consumer in terms of cost savings and are an easy way for a consumer to switch to electrification for laundry. Further, they're not ducted to the outside, which waste heat, and don't have the same issues with maintenance and safety associated with lint buildup in these exhaust systems. They simply dehumidify your clothes using a condensing process and use a heat pump to gather heat already in the building to gently heat your clothes. Next slide, please. Possibly the most emotional part of the cooking transition for a consumer is possibly the most important emotional part of the transition for consumers cooking. To say that people have a lot of questions when it comes to giving up their gas stove is an understatement. We're used to electric cooking being inferior to gas, but with induction cooking, this is certainly not the case. Induction cooking gives you better control, a better and safer cooking experience, eliminates combustion byproducts from the home, improving air quality, eliminates an explosive gas from the home, and eliminates methane leaks. It's also easier to clean up. Many chefs actually prefer cooking on induction versus gas because of the level of control they get. It's a far step from your grandmother's electric cooktop. Next slide, please. Once we make the shift to all electric mechanicals, we can now consider both offsetting both our utility cost and carbon by adding solar PV to rooftops. Here are some photos of what many of my clients have built over the years. These owners don't have gas lines, gas bills, and they own their electrical power. Next slide, please. Electrification is a win for everyone. Consider all electric part of your next building's project. We can help fight some of the worst impacts of combustion byproducts in our homes by making them healthier and safer. We can make our homes and communities safer, and we can do it economically with savings and benefits for both the builder and the consumer. Thank you, and without any further ado, I'd like to pass it on to our next speaker, Andre.
Thanks, Wayne. Hi, everybody. How are you today? I hope everybody's having a good afternoon. My name is Andre Blacknard. I own Eco Home Builders. I've been building for like 2 decades, but building electric and building the way we do the infrastructure of the building, it's amazing. It's stronger than most buildings. It's a healthier system. It's just, I just can't explain, but I will tell you about it. Next slide, please. I was an environmental engineer for 12 years, worked with a company, EDI, Environmental Design. They are woman-owned, minority business, and we've done big projects like Cook County Hospital demolition, underground storage tank removals. We were working in Chicago Public Schools, regions 5 and 6, brownfield studies, and then did a lot of things for right-of-way takes for IDOT. So we were doing a little bit of surveying, and but the most important part was that this company was really trying to curb the environmental impact on the schools with the windows and lead paint. So we were hitting a lot of that and doing a lot of testing. And that was all around the Chicago Public Schools. So they end up switching out all the windows and doing a big project for like 4 years, doing renovations on the public schools. I was IT director for ADI only because they needed help with the IT stuff. I developed some databases and also created remote access. We had 2 offices that we had to connect with. I started building single family and multifamily homes in 2005. They were all gas, but I figured that I will never build like that. Again, I can't even look back at gas. So I also, during that time, during the hiatus of 2008, when everything went down for building, I took some classes to become a lead green associate. So that's when it sparked my interest in terms of how to build green. And then Benjamin Van Horn, which I've known for quite a long time, was doing green homes, or started one single green home, testing the waters to see how people would like it. And it was a learning experience, a big curve for building. And it's not the same thing because the city of Chicago was not catching up to what we were imagining we can do, and would always try to deny us approval for any kind of our heating systems or or even our framing, they would look and see that's not right. And then we would just have to explain and show, and the engineers and would work with the engineers at the city, and then they would come back, and hopefully they're starting to catch up now. Next slide, please. Objectives of the green buildings, we're just designing these buildings to reduce the overall impact to human health. We want to try to lower our carbon footprint, which is a big topic. Better indoor air quality, you'll have better health. Anyone have allergies or any kind of just get affected by any kind of any fibers or anything. This system, this house will definitely help you breathe and live a better life. And we will do that by reducing waste, pollution, and environmental degradation. Next slide, please. Okay, there's a lot here with the building envelope. So you could take a look at this list. We do a lot with the building. It is quite a thought process and a lot of testing, a lot of inspections, but main thing that we do is we're starting with my three big ones. It's the foundation. We do with the an 8-inch foundation wall that's waterproof. The footings are also waterproof. We do 4 inches of rigid foam on the outside, and we cover it with aluminum cap to keep the water from entering. We also do that 2-inch rigid foam underneath a 5-inch slab. You could actually, if some people decide they want to do polish or polish the concrete floor in the basement, which will also help with allergies. If you walk on that floor barefoot, you won't feel the cold, and it's amazing. Henry Blueskin, the house wrap, that is amazing. Like you can leave, you don't even have to side the house. Like if you look at the picture to your left, that house wasn't sided for like 3 months, and during the winter, and we didn't have any water leakage at all. It was quite amazing. Let's see what we got. Triple pane windows with a U factor of 0.21. Air sealing is very important. And then take a look at all the insulation type of installations that we do. Low VOC paints, caulk sealants, and formaldehyde-free cabinets. Next slide, please. Okay, and so Wayne touched on this a little bit, the building electrification. I consider these systems to be like the engine for the house. Once you put them in, it just keeps the house like humming, like a real nice car. And it runs all the time. You don't hear it. It's very quiet and very efficient. It like your floors, you have a zone floor, like 3 floors. If you put one of these wall units on each floor, you will feel the same temperature from room to room. It won't be colder, won't be hotter. It never blows and then make everything really cold real quick. It'll just keep the temperature balanced, and it's very nice. You can, and when you're doing these buildings, we usually get these systems designed by a mechanical engineer, and it's called a manual JSTD. SDT, sorry, excuse me. So J is for load calculations, S is for the equipment selection, and D is for duct design, and T is for the air distribution. When they do inspections on a house, they look for this document. It's stamped by an engineer, and so that must be on site when you are getting inspected by an inspector. Next slide, please. The heat pumps, heat pump water heaters. These are awesome. This is my favorite one, the Rheem Platinum. It's very good in terms of keeping hot water in for your guests. We got 5 times more efficient than a regular hot water tank. Fewer greenhouse gases, energy savings, and time schedules. 5 operation modes. If you're leaving for vacation, you can set it energy saver mode or heat pump. Or if you have a lot of people taking showers all at once, you can set it to high demand and it will provide the hot water. It's also Wi-Fi connected through Econet. You can monitor how much your tank is using, and you can make sure you can change the settings in case you're not going to be around. And it uses less energy than a classic 100-watt incandescent bulb. Next slide, please. All right, and appliances. So when you're thinking about electric homes, we don't use regular appliances anymore, except for fridges. You know, they're not quite heat pump or driven by any kind of pumps, or but it's all electric, so they're good. But we got the heat pump dryers that sends they dry the clothes through an evaporator that removes the moisture. It's 28% more efficient than a conventional dryer. And then what's good about that is that we don't have to cut any holes into the rooms to vent out, because it's already ventless. It won't dispel any kind of heat to the outside. It'll keep the heat inside the frame of the house. Induction stoves is another one, and if you were looking for doing any kind of certifications for your appliances in your home, they require Energy Star appliances. Next slide, please. Okay, and this is one of the certifications, Zero Energy Home, Ready Home. This is one that I'm currently trying to achieve for my building. But these certifications that it's kind of a nice way to give you recognition, and saying that you're actually, the work that you're doing is really good for the climate. It validates you in terms of building a healthy home and lower the carbon footprint, and you just feel like you're doing your part. And I always think that we're always tackling. I'm always, when I build it, I don't feel like it's just a job. It's a mission for me. I want to try to make an impact on the environment because I do care about the planet, and I've been doing it for quite a while. And I think I'm hoping that we can have more people build like this, like Darsh. Next slide, please. So I would like to say thank you for listening, and I appreciate everything. I hope you learned a little bit from my presentation, and I would like to pass it over to Darsh. Next.
All right, thank you so much, Andre. Appreciate following in your footsteps here, and wanted to sincerely thank the Illinois Green Alliance team here for inviting me to share some of my experience, coming at it from a little bit of a different angle than Andre, who has a well-seasoned builder for 2 decades. I think my building experience is less than 2 years, and sometimes feels like it's been 2 minutes long. So I'm going to share a different perspective here with you all. Here I'm a first-time developer, as I mentioned, and I've decided to plunge right in by going all electric with a fairly larger size building here, 15 units. Next slide, please. Let me provide a little bit of context because I'm coming at this maybe a little bit differently than other folks. Some of you are already wondering that might be a little crazy here, jumping into a big building and doing something that's a little different than what's being done. I'm an engineer by training, and spent a number of years in healthcare companies at the management level. And sort of did the corporate thing for a while. I think my trajectory really changed a few years ago when we had an opportunity to buy a multifamily building next door to where we were living. Having that building, it's an owner-occupied building, just gave me a really good perspective on kind of the operator's mentality for how multi-unit buildings really tick. And I've done everything here from changing toilets to, scrubbing floors and all that stuff. And in the process, I've just kind of picked up those little things around, if you were to own investment property for a long period of time, what are the things that create headaches? What are the things that break? What are the things that drive tenant comfort or discomfort, that kind of thing. Following on that investment, I was looking to purchase like an existing building, but just didn't see anything at the right price point and the right locations that I wanted. And I think secretly I had a bit of an inkling to try and build one from scratch, kind of trying to put those learnings right into the design from the beginning. And I was just lucky that I met a few awesome people at the right time who really pushed me in the direction of thinking about sustainability, about simplifying, about thinking about going all electric and all those good things. And I'm so glad I did. I'm coming at this again from a longer term investment mentality and operator's perspective. And I'm very pleased with kind of where we landed with this project. Next slide, please. So let me here just tee up the overall building that we just finished up as of a couple weeks ago with our certificate of occupancy. This is it was a 12,000 square foot lot right by the United Center, 204 South Levitt. So that's 2 blocks west of the United Center. We constructed a 15-unit multifamily building with one-to-one parking. We did go fully framed, which building code allows for the 4-story structure. And of course, that's now fully sprinklered as well. All electric. It was a 1600 amp service coming into the building overhead. And then we did all the good stuff that a lot of what you've heard about from Sophia and Wayne and Andre, isolation of the slab. We did sound isolation from an apartment building standpoint between floors. Everything is solar and EV ready. And then I'm going to talk about more of the details here on the next slides. Next slide, please. So in terms of the envelope and slab, similar to what Andre's doing with his buildings, we actually did 2 inches of rigid foam on the interior of our stem walls all the way down to the footings. I did not do insulation under the slab, although that is absolutely something I'd like to consider for the next project. I think that's going to make a big difference as well. We achieved R28 for the exterior 2x6 walls, so we did 3-inch closed cell foam there. Plus, we had another 1.5 inches of continuous sheathing on the outside with the insulation. That was zip sheathing. For the roof, we did 2 inches of closed, 8 inches of open, and then a little bit above on the exterior side of the roof. I did wish I went a little bit heavier on the exterior side of the roof. I think I'd do something closer to at least 1 inch of the fiberboard on the outside. As you've heard before, there's a common theme here around the details. The details really matter with respect to air sealing, and I'm going to talk about some of the lessons learned on my project here, but a lot of caulking between the sill plate, between studs, around penetrations. I was shocked at how much air escapes from the electrical outlets and switches and so forth. So we really paid close attention, or as best I could anyway, being a first timer in trying to seal a lot of that up. In terms of our window and door selections, we did go with Climate Guard with 0.27 UF. I wish I went a little bit better on those windows as well. I know they do tend to get expensive as you get higher performance, but I think it is an investment that's worth it. Next project, I'd probably go a little bit better on those performances as well. Next slide, please. So similar setup to what Andre described. I kind of set up my thought process was to compartmentalize the building a little bit, just to have some optionality in the future if I did want to sell them off as condos or whatnot. But so we went with unit by unit level air handlers, electric air handlers, of course. The heat pumps are all on the rooftop. We went with the Champion system here. As shown in the picture here, we added a A.O. Smith hybrid heat pump. So very similar type of setup to Andre. Here, I liked the fact that I had the top connections on the heat pump water heater. Just thinking about like how tight the mechanical space gets in a multifamily building of the size. I wanted to keep things as streamlined as possible. And then for ventilation, we have fresh air being brought into each unit through an April Air fresh air ventilator that's powered, and it's actually a smart performing device in the sense that if there's certain humidity limits, it won't bring in the air, or it'll catch up the air later on. And then we've got continuous low flow sort of exhaust through the 2 bathroom fans. So that's kind of our setup. The one thing I want to point out here is, and this was kind of a big lesson learned, as much as our HVAC installers tried to understand the ceiling details and the air duct details here, it was shocking how much we still kind of lost when we were doing the testing. So we had to come back and have everything else, everything remastic. It's hard to see in this picture, but equipment selection becomes a big deal. You would be shocked at how much air leaks through just where those panels are for the air handlers, around all those little openings, where the seams are. You see the tape that we've kind of added there, but I think equipment selection is going to be a big thing going forward, paying attention to how this equipment is designed, how tight those panels are, things like that are really going to matter to achieve maximum performance. So that's something I'm going to be keeping in mind for my future projects. Next slide, please. In terms of performance characteristics, I'm proud we were able to achieve some of these nice characteristics for a rather large multifamily building here. I will say these are good, but not great. I think there's a lot of room for improvement here. The one that I really pick on is that air duct leakage. Again, lessons learned. Another thing that I didn't point out in the earlier picture is just the amount of air, where there are cutouts in the drywall where your mechanical equipment is in the ceilings. It's best when the primary ducts are installed to go ahead and seal those up fully while you still have access to those areas, because once the rest of the ductwork is in and your main equipment is in, it's a lot harder to get to. So we had to do a little bit of retrofit sealing, if you will, but that's a good lesson learned for some of those details that really matter when you're achieving some of these high performance standards. Next slide, please. So here were some incentives and certifications. Obviously at this scale, I really was conscious of trying to maximize the incentives that we might be able to achieve. We worked with Sophia's team, and a big thank you to her team for setting up this program and working hand in hand with us from the very beginning in terms of our selections and so forth, pointing me to some resources along the way. That was great. So that was $5,000 per unit incentive. We are located in an Illinois enterprise zone, so we were able to achieve some pretty significant sales tax savings just by virtue of all the things that we were purchasing to build this building. We are able to achieve the federal tax credits, 45L. I think that's up to $5,000 per unit, and then the 179D deductions, I think ends up being up to $5 per square foot. So we're very much on track to achieve those incentives. And then we did go for NGBS certification. I think that's going to help with the longer term financing. There's some great HUD and Fannie Mae products that if you are able to achieve some of these certifications, you qualify for some advantaged loan terms. We are going to get the Energy Star multifamily new construction certification or compliance, and then Zero Energy Ready Home as well. So those are in the very final stages of submission, but we're on track with all the performance requirements that they need. Next slide, please. So I'll just end with a little bit of my perspective here on lessons learned. One of the big things right out of the gate for us was issues with shortages around that switchgear equipment. These are pretty heavy duty electrical loads for a building like this, and that equipment has been in short supply since COVID. I know a lot of projects have been sitting and waiting for months almost as a finished product without being able to power up. So going all electric, you have to be conscious of when you can get your hands on that equipment. Start extremely early in the process. I hear things are getting better, but start very early, and make sure that you're timing your seasonality a little bit better, right? Because it starts to get quite cold here in the winter, and you'll want a way to make sure that you can keep your building heated. I talked about the air leakage details in the mechanical closets. That was a big learning for us. Another area that we missed, or we had to sort of go back to or revisit, was in between our corridor walls and our demising walls. Once they put some of that drywall up for the fireproofing up at the top, depending on how low or high they cut that drywall, it could limit how much space, how many inches you actually have to fit your designed insulation. So another sort of detail to pay attention to. Those air ducts, those have to be nearly perfect the ones that are at least not exposed, because you lose so much air in the equipment and around the humidifiers and all that, that it'll be tough to hit the standards if your air ducts aren't sealed almost perfectly. So big attention to detail there. I talked about that fourth one there. And then just generally, just paying attention to who's going to be doing what, as it relates to some of these interventions. It would be really helpful to have someone just on standby that can just do easy sealing and caulking work, because there's just so much of it that needs to be done. And it wasn't clear at the beginning as to whose responsibility that would be. So we were lucky we had a person that kind of helped us out and was able to take care of that. But sort out those details early, have someone on standby, those things will really happen. So no one's, people aren't looking at each other saying, hey, who owns this part of it? Anyway, I'm very excited about the building. We're leasing it up. You could go to the next slide here. Okay, things got a little bit out of order here, Twyla. We did go with the induction range for the cooking. We've talked about that. I think it's going to be an interesting lesson from a tenant perspective. I know my first tenants tried a set of cookware and it didn't work. So we're going to have some hiccups there, but I hear it is absolutely the best thing since sliced bread. So I'm excited about that. We did go with an LG Laundry Center, which is a heat pump based unit. It's a single unit, which is kind of nice. In the future, I'd probably consider maybe an all-in-one unit, which I know a few have hit the market recently, and I think those would be super nice as well. Next slide. We are solar and EV ready. I just didn't have the mental bandwidth to tackle solar right out of the chute. What I did do is design my rooftop such that I've got a tenant sort of amenity space in the center, but it's hard to tell in this picture. I left a lot of room around the entire perimeter of our rooftop for adding future solar. And who knows, I know Wayne's been saying maybe I should go with some sort of pergola thing to just go all the way across. So eventually I'll get to that decision. Everything's wired and ready to go down to the electrical room for that. And similar with EV charging, although I'll get a handle on that sooner. Half of our spots are EV ready, and I just got to figure out the exact solution in terms of a multi-tenant sort of situation and shared spaces and things like that. Next slide. Well, thank you very much. I hope sharing some of this experience from a first-time builder, kind of going in blind, if you will. I wish I had access to resources like this earlier on in my journey. So kudos to you all for participating. I think you could help avoid a lot of mistakes or stress and things like that, just listening to our experience. And I'm so excited to take all these learnings and doing it again on the next one, but better. So thank you for having me again. I appreciate you all.
That was pretty awesome, Darsh and Andre. Thank you for really sharing your path here. There are a couple of questions in the Q&A that I wanted to bring up. So I'm going to toss the first one to let's start with Andre or on this one. Is there any process you use for vetting subcontractors, like for your projects, and are there any certifications that you're looking for? How do you know somebody's right for the job to help you build?
So for that, it's a little hard to vet the contractor. Usually you get recommendations. But some systems like I use the Mitsubishi system, the contractor that they want to install those systems are Black Diamond certified. So they're really, you would look for that type of contractor in terms of HVAC to install the heat pumps. But in terms of the other, like carpenters and electricians, all of those guys, I've been working with guys for quite a while, so they're kind of seasoned and they know what I want, and I'll have to watch it. I did have to change carpenters, and it's almost like babysitting, where it can become a big headache and a mess if they are not listening or not doing what you told them to do or what's on the plan. So, but otherwise, I can't really speak to vetting the guys because I really did get a lot of recommendations that could do it, and they seem to be very good at what they do. So
Darsh, do you have any insights into working with your contractor?
We really struggled in this area. It's a very similar experience. There's just not like, it wasn't a good database. I felt like of folks that are like, they get it. They've been doing it this way. So we had to handhold the entire way through. And I remember so many conversations we had on site to my various contractors saying, guys and girls, if you could figure this out, like this is a huge opportunity for you as a contractor, just being able to do this and build that experience, knowing those details. I think that's huge. So it was a struggle. Yeah. Some were we were able to get them there and some were painful.
And I figure Sophia by this point knows, she's sort of like the network resource for all the people that are performing in this space. So Sophia, do you have any insights here?
Well, for the contractors itself,
Yeah.
yeah, we have a handful of like the HVAC contractors or manufacturers who know about the program. So, whenever I go to the home tour, so I have a contractor who only have done the gas furnace before. Is there a training opportunities or something like that? So I'm happy to share the resources that we have to participate in the program, but we also have a free air source heat pump training program that people can learn about the air source heat pumps as well.
that's good.
So we had another question on the heat gain side. So, obviously in Chicago, we're an 8 out of 12-month heating climate here, right? So we pay a lot of attention to heating in our climate zone and mechanical design. One of the questions was just on solar heat gain. And I kind of wanted to give you guys an opportunity to say what your thoughts are on solar heat gain on windows and awnings and shading and site selection, this type of thing. And if I think it's kind of a harder question. It's a question you'd probably get more in Las Vegas, I would imagine, than in Chicago. But I would say that my observation is that almost every green builder I know uses UV windows with triple pane glass, right? So I don't know how much heat gain is an issue right now, and certainly if the climate warms a few years from now, the windows will need replacement in 20 years or 25 years, but
I know with sorry, Wayne. I know with triple pane windows, typically it adapts the climate that's on the inside because of the panes that there are. And I don't tend to go outside and fill the outside of the window, but I know that when you're standing there, especially okay, I know we had that polar vortex back in 2018, I think it was. And when it was 26 below, you can touch the triple pane window. You can't feel the cold on the outside. So I've already seen the proof that, and we've had people come, we had a walkthrough that day from some people that were looking to do these type of homes. And they took their coats off and they were just walking around and touched the window. They couldn't even feel the coldness from the outside. So it was very windy that day. I remember.
And there was a question on air sealing techniques and air duct sealing approaches. Darsh, you had mentioned that you had some challenges and almost had to approach it like a retrofit. I wanted to get your take on how you ended up trying to resolve that.
Yes, I mean, we came back and the HVAC contractors had to go through anything that was exposed and just remastic everything as much as they possibly can and tape some of those joints and so forth. But it was very much sort of in how do you call it, scramble mode at that point. I think your best opportunity is to be aware of how detailed you need to be during the rough stage. When everything is exposed, everything, you can tackle it then. And like most of our setups here where we've got the main duct, what do you call it? Like the main duct block at the top of the mechanical area. If that can get installed first and the drywall comes around it, you have your best chance to go ahead and seal that all up. before you install the rest of the ductwork and the actual furnace or the air handler and so forth. So getting ahead of it, I think, was the biggest key, and then working with an installer that really understands how like methodical they have to be with that sealing is the key.
Yeah. No, and you know, an interesting tip that I learned from an energy rater a long time ago is have them do the air duct seal testing, right, prior to drywall, right? So like they can determine how, and prior to insulation, right? Like how tight is this duct system
That's right.
while you still have access to it. And then you could always avoid ducts altogether and use air handlers and things like this and sort of kind of move into that space. So.
I do hope that the manufacturers will pay more attention to this. I was just so shocked when I put my hand up there next to the equipment when we were doing the blower door testing and or the air duct testing, and how much air we were losing it just because panels weren't on tight. They're on with like 4 machine screws, you know. We've got to get better at that from a manufacturer standpoint to get this equipment tighter. Yeah.
No. There are a lot of questions in the Q&A that we're probably not going to get to, so I apologize if some of you have there, but we'll send it out to everybody and give everybody a chance to answer you after the program. Sophia, there's a question. So the home tour today is obviously Andre's building, and so that's a 3-unit building. So that they'll be coming. Do you have Sophia, are you seeing a lot of single family homes, like what's the trend right now?
Right now, so that's a really good question. So we have been like in earlier 2020, 2021, the majority was 2-flat, single family, and now we have about 4 to 6 buildings of multi-family buildings that are larger than 10 units, 15 units, even larger than that for the future years. And a lot of major renovation, new construction. So a variety of types are in the program right now. The top 2 are single family and multi-family currently in the program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had a question in the chat that was answered, but I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to talk about it. Have you used tankless water heaters in place of gas units? So I wanted to get a little bit of people's perspectives. Hybrid hot water heaters are kind of new to people, right? And sort of, I think a lot of consumers equate tankless with efficiency. I'll let anybody kind of jump in.
I saw we had one project that had tankless heat pump water heater. I believe those are, I'm not a technician, I don't have a technical, more in depth on those area, but I think it's less efficient compared to actual heat pump water heater with tank. I don't know the builder's perspectives on that, but yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, the practical, what I've seen challenging with this, especially when you get to not buildings that aren't massive, right?
Right.
Is that the electrical service load for a tankless electric water heater is, maybe a minimum of 100 amps. And if your panel's a 200 amp panel and you have 100 amps just going to your water heater, it's just going to really up the cost of your electrical service line. So that's one of the challenges I've seen with it. And then obviously being resistive base heat, again, I'm not an engineer either, but I do believe that heat pumps are generally more efficient than resistors in providing heating energy. Twyla, I see you back on here. Like I said to everybody, wrap this up and be respectful of everybody's time, but we'll try to get you answers to your questions that weren't answered live here.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. And thank you speakers for sharing your insights. We have a second part to this program, which is from 4 to 6. We have an open house of Andre's 3-unit. And so if you've registered for that, you'll be receiving a reminder email with arrival instructions. And we're excited to see you. Also for everyone, there will be a follow-up email that will have some more answered questions and a list of these questions. And if our speakers want to share any resources about the things they've talked about, they can share those as well. And there will be contact information for everyone. So thank you again, and have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.